Good to have you join us today on this edition of Business Daily. Hello, coming to you live from Seoul, I'm Lee Ji-yoon. We have a lot lined up for you today, so let's get started with the day's highlights. Korea's producer prices continue to drop amid falling global oil prices, with electricity, fuel, and gas costs also sliding. Fried chicken, oven-baked chicken, garlic chicken, and the list goes on when it comes to the options you can choose from here in Korea. We take a look at the boom in the country's chicken market and how it continues to grow to this day. Korea's producer prices have been declining every month for exactly 1 year now, dropping at the fastest pace in 16 years. The index that measures the prices was down 4% on year in July due to low global oil prices. Our Shin Se-min has the story.
Korea's producer prices have dropped to their lowest in almost 5 years, declining at the fastest pace since April of 1999. The Bank of Korea said Wednesday that its producer price index, a barometer to gauge future consumer inflation, came in at 101.43, down 4% from the previous year, extending its downward streak that began in August last year. The central bank attributed the ongoing slide to falling global oil prices. Utility prices moved down, with electricity, fuel, and gas costs dropping a combined 10.3%. Petroleum and coal prices posted the biggest decrease, coming in 31% lower compared to July of last year. The fall in producer prices, dragged down by continually low global oil prices, could mean that it will eventually help stabilize consumer prices and spur purchasing power down the line. But it's not all good news.
Producer prices, largely determined by the price of raw materials, could impact exporting companies as they lose in price competitiveness in the global market.
Experts add there is only one way to cope with the global oil glut, which is expected to drag on and keep prices low, improve the quality of products in stiff competition with other countries. Shin Se-min, Business Daily.
Meanwhile, the government has vowed to make more accurate growth forecasts when setting its annual budget to prevent tax revenue shortfalls. Korea has reported a tax revenue shortfall every year since 2012. Making matters worse, last year's deficit surged to a record $9.2 billion. According to data, there was an average 3 to 4 percentage point difference between the government's projected growth rate and actual figures over the last 3 years. Other ministry officials said that next year's growth forecast, made in June, may be readjusted. Korea's economy experienced sluggish growth in the second quarter, and while that was no big surprise, there's extra concern as Korea's growth was weaker than many other countries in the world, including those in the grip of a financial crisis. Our Kwon So-ah reports.
Slow growth is not an issue unique to Korea, as the world economy, be it developing or developed countries, are not in a particularly good phase. However, in comparison to other countries, the situation in Korea may be more serious. According to figures released by Bloomberg, Korea's gross domestic product expanded 0.3% in the second quarter of the year from the previous quarter. That's not only much lower than other major Asian countries like Indonesia and China, but even crisis-hit Greece is recovering, with Portugal also experiencing more growth than Korea. Among Portugal, Ireland, Italy, Greece, and Spain, or PIGS, the group of Eurozone countries that were affected economically by the 2008 financial crisis, only Italy showed weaker results.
The fact that Korea has posted weaker growth than South European countries going through financial crises means the problem is serious. Considering that piling stocks are accounting for 0.2 percentage points, the actual growth was at 0 to 0.1%.
Korea's GDP growth is now at the same level it was in the fourth quarter last year, and minus those 2 quarters, it's at its lowest in 6 years. For the time being, things are not expected to improve much, with experts saying Korea's economy will slow down alongside China. That's why financial institutions are downgrading Korea's forecast. In a report by Moody's analyzing the impact of China and Greece on the world economy, Korea's economic growth outlook was lowered for this year by 0.1 percentage point from a month ago to 2.5%. Kwon So-ah, Business Daily.
Domestic securities companies have posted their strongest earnings in 8 years in the second quarter. The Financial Supervisory Service says the combined net profit of securities firms in the country stood at 1.2 trillion won, or slightly over $1 billion in the April to June period this year, which is up 23% from the previous quarter. Now, the figure is the highest since the second quarter of 2007. The financial watchdog attributed the robust performance to a sharp rise in brokerage commission income. Korea's total output of fisheries in the country's intertidal zone has increased roughly 14% in the first 7 months of this year compared to the same period last year. According to the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries, over 450,000 tons were caught, mostly being anchovies at roughly 84,000 tons, followed by mackerel and horse mackerel. But the ministry added that the average length of squid and mackerel was shorter compared to last year, calling for better marine resource management. Japan's persistently weak yen has eaten into Korea's total exports of fisheries so far this year, pushing it down by 5% on year to $1.1 billion. Korea is working together with local communities and developing nations to help improve conditions for farming. Now, a state-run research center is extending this help, and our Lee Ju-young explains how it works and what kind of results they're producing.
These Sri Lankan farmers are working hard under the sun harvesting onions, one of the country's main agricultural products. But the fruit of their hard labor does not always reflect the hours invested. Despite the optimal temperatures for onion plantation, the quality lags far behind that of Korea's, only being half the size. And due to low production levels, Sri Lanka has to import most of its onions from other countries. That's why Korea's state-run Rural Development Administration opened an agricultural research center called Korea Project on International Agriculture, or KOPIA, to help developing countries like Sri Lanka improve farming productivity through technical support and joint agricultural development projects.
It's a real big help, since the center trains us local researchers, and we can invite specialists from Korea to teach us.
The center said it plans to improve existing onion species so that they are better suited to the local environment. By doing so, it hopes to push the community's self-sufficiency rate up to 70%.
Although it's a tough environment, we hope to maximize onion production through KOPIA and see increased profits.
The Korean government has established around 20 KOPIA centers in developing countries around the world so far and hopes to open more centers in 22 other countries.
We hope to create a community movement so that villagers can run things independently. We're trying to disseminate the technology as fast as possible.
By sharing state-of-the-art cultivation know-how, Korea hopes to increase yields and help developing countries build up a sustainable agricultural industry. Lee Ju-young, Business Daily.
And let's now get a quick check on how the markets fared here in Seoul today. Seoul shares fell on this Wednesday as investor sentiment was dampened over uncertainties from the potential U.S. rate hike and signs of the slowing Chinese economy. At the closing bell, the benchmark Kospi was down 0.86%, finishing the day at 1939.38, while the tech-heavy Kosdaq also dropped to 4.18% to end at 670.55. On the foreign exchange counter, the Korean currency fell against the greenback, ending at 1,185.31. Going out for fried chicken and beer, or chimek as it's called in Korean, has become somewhat of a national pastime. The popular pairing is especially loved at big sporting events like the World Cup. But now chicken joints are offering a wider range of menus and renovating their restaurants, making it an even more popular choice. For more on the chicken industry here in Korea, our Kim Min-ji joins us in the studio today. Hello, Min-ji.
Hi, Jiun. So for starters, I'm sure you have, and I definitely have, finished the day off with some chimek.
I couldn't agree more. It's a perfect way to end a long day.
That's right. The love the Koreans have for chickens have got the market booming, and stores are coming up with new ways to satisfy the consumers. So let's take a look. Chicken Republic. This is how some jokingly refer to Korea. Chicken became the #1 eat-out food in 1997, not losing that title since. Koreans consumed an average of 12.6 kilograms of chicken last year. Considering the average weight of a chicken is about 900 grams, it means each person eats roughly 15 chickens a year.
I eat chicken 2 or 3 times a month. It's a simple dish I can easily enjoy with friends.
I eat chicken very often, sometimes even 3 times a week. I like the variety of flavors you can get, especially soy sauce flavor.
The number of flavors and methods used to cook the bird have evolved over the years to meet the needs of consumers as well as fast-changing eating trends. One franchise has even benchmarked Hamburger University in the US to make Chicken University, where they teach aspiring entrepreneurs how to cook or come up with new recipes. For one, the recent honey butter flavor boom in the nation has spread to chicken restaurants. It doesn't end there. Spicy hot garlic, soy garlic, cream, and the list can go on. Some are even bringing back old memories by introducing the conventional rotisserie chicken that was popular in the 80s. But it's not just the flavors that are changing.
Fried chicken was limited to delivery joints or pubs, but to attract younger customers or families, we decided to open cafe-style restaurants a few years ago. We offer a wider range of dishes, not just chicken, to make people stay longer and give them a new experience.
And it seems efforts like these have created fresh success. The chicken market has seen exponential growth over the years, currently standing at roughly $4 billion. Major chicken franchises have also seen their sales more than double in the past decade. But it hasn't been a win-win for everyone in the sector.
There's currently an oversupply of chicken. Farmers are producing more due to better technology. At the same time, more chickens are being imported because of free trade deals. Last year, Korea imported some 14,000 tons.
This surplus means the price of raw chicken hasn't been able to move up, forcing many local poultry farms to shut down. Experts say there needs to be a quota in place to limit the number of imports, since although the supply can increase explosively, demand can only move up gradually. Once the prices are secured, experts say domestic farms will be able to benefit down the road, as the outlook for the market still remains rosy.
The chicken market will get bigger. Chicken farming is efficient because it takes less than a month to raise a bird, so costs are low compared to other animals fit for consumption. And since you cook it in various ways, the demand from consumers can only increase as time goes by.
You know, I knew that Koreans loved chicken, but I didn't know that the growth in this industry would be this explosive. And I also hear that there's bigger potential.
Yes, that's right. As you heard, for farmers, raising chickens is actually cheaper than raising other livestock. And for the consumers themselves, they have so many ways they can cook the chicken. So there's more potential. And also for the consumer as well, it's much cheaper than other meat like beef. And believe it or not, Koreans are still eating less chicken compared to other countries that are similar in population.
All right, and this is all pushing many people to open more fried chicken joints, I guess.
Yes, 1 in 2 startups, in fact, in Korea is a chicken store. And data shows that over 7,000 new stores open every year. And currently there's about 36 franchise stores nationwide, which is even more than the number of convenience stores. Now, the boom comes as entry barriers are low and it requires a relatively small amount of capital, just about $40,000 US. And it also requires no great skills that require long-term training.
All right, and like you said, the market is pretty saturated, which means that not all people are going to be successful in this industry.
Yes, because consumption hasn't been able to meet the expansion of the stores. And among the stores that opened in 2001, 18% closed within a year, and almost half were gone by 3 years, and 80% were closed after 10 years. So the average period of survival only stands at roughly 2 years and 7 months.
And you also said that farmers weren't able to benefit from this as much despite the explosive growth in the industry. And there was a heated debate about this recently, what I believe. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, that's because the disputes were because cooked chicken are priced at roughly $15, whereas the raw chickens only fetch about $2.
Wow, that's quite a difference.
Yes, but looking at the price tag alone, it does seem expensive now. But something to note is the middle process that they go through. Now, there's a complicated distribution procedure, and chicken restaurants also have to take into account cost incurred for marketing, labor, rent, and other ingredients in that final price. So experts say the best solution would be for franchises to lower the distribution costs as much as possible, and then this cost would let their final products go down, and then it would be a win-win for both because the demand would go up.
Right, something that needs to be worked on the long term, I guess.
That's right.
All right, well, on that note, you got me all thinking about chicken, and I think I need to go for that after work today. All right, thank you so much for coming in today.
My pleasure.
All right, that wraps it up for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back tomorrow at the same time, same place. Until then, goodbye.